and this is the second part of the two-part lecture, scheduled lecture on ethics and the web. And the emphasis of this screencast 16 is the social media conglomerates, and we'll find out who they are. So that was Amazon, an important milestone in the commercialization of the web, an important milestone in terms of the movement of the web away from its non-commercial foundations as a place inhabited by enthusiasts and a sphere that was dominated by educational institutions. The next phase in the development of the web, though, was less about about consumers purchasing goods and more about how companies could gain information about web users. And this is all about the rise of the social media conglomerates, in particular Google. The next three clips are from a documentary which I've used extensively in lecture, the part 1, lecture 15, and they're from a BBC documentary called Virtual Revolution. Here are a series of clips from that documentary about the Google business model.
At data centers like this, Google stores information about the web and what we search for. In the last quarter of 2009, Google made over $200 every second from the transactions that passed through data centers like this. Its net profits for the year was $6.5 billion. And that money comes from advertising, tailored around information that we give Google. Every time we use Google, we help them make money. I've come to meet the editor of Wired magazine, Silicon Valley's Bible. He's charted the rise and rise of Google.
One could definitely argue that Google is an advertising company. It's, lots of people do search. And one could argue that Google search is not significantly better or worse than Microsoft's or AOL's or anybody else's. But its hold over advertising is unmatched.
Why do you think the Google business model has worked?
The Google business model is genius. All of the things it does, calendar, mail, maps, photo management, all this sort of stuff, both can be given away for free because the cost of delivering that digital service to you is so low, and increases your attachment to Google. And it will make money from you someday. And whether it makes money when you go to search and it runs ads there, whether it makes money because it's putting ads against other third-party content that you're using, what Google has is not so much a monopoly on search. The switching costs of search are pretty, one click away. What it has is the beginnings of a monopoly over internet advertising.
Through targeted advertising to consumers, Google and ultimately the web had found a way to pay for itself. But Google's ambition ran even deeper than money. Page and Brin wanted to transform the web itself. They built into their advertising machine the analytical insight of their search engine. And crucially, this was what cemented Google's influence on the web. Their goal was to filter for consumers relevant ads from the irrelevant ones. So every time you activate AdWords by searching on Google, it unleashes a chain of events which can be illustrated like this. Let's say a car company wants to see their ad appear at the top of the page when someone searches for the words new car. They tell Google the amount they're willing to pay to make their advert appear. The process is actually an auction, so lots of companies might be competing for the top spot. But Google doesn't necessarily give the top spot to the highest bidder. It judges ads based on how relevant they are to the search and a range of indicators of the quality of the advertising company's website. In simple terms, P, the price the winner pays, is related to the value of bid multiplied by quality. This gets top billing. In this way, Google doesn't just rake in profits, but positions itself as a powerful arbiter of quality and relevance online. AdWords is what made Google the dominant player on the web, and very quickly the rest of the web fell into line behind this model. Offer your products and your services for free while funding it behind the scenes with highly targeted advertising. Now, the irony is that this ultra-capitalist model requires that the web stay true to its non-capitalist roots. It has to remain an open network, easy to search, with no pay-per-view, and no areas that Google can't go. This open vision of the web also requires us users to play our part, consuming the eye candy in a virtual sweet shop of free content. The longer we're online, the more attention we pay, the more information businesses of all kinds can capture, and the more advertising they can sell.
The product online is not the content. The product online is you. The product online are the eyeballs looking at that content, and as much information about how to influence the hands connected to those eyeballs as possible.
Those three clips give you an idea of how the Google business model works. It works, A, by giving away things for free, but nothing is for free because the product it essentially sells is you. But what are the ethical implications of that business model, of the social media business model? Because the same applies to Facebook. Here's Dana Boyd, whose articles I cite in the handout.
Dana Boyd is a sociologist at Harvard University who believes there are lessons from history in how data collected today can have unintended consequences tomorrow.
There's been times in history where we've collected mass amounts of data without even thinking about how it would get used in the future, often for really good intentions. A good example of that is in the early 1900s, the Netherlands started collecting all sorts of information about its citizens for the best of intentions. One of the bits of data they collected during that period was people's religion in order to give people a proper burial. They had no idea that in 1939, when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands, that data would be used for how it was used.
So that was Dana Boyd talking about the implications of privacy and of us giving information about ourselves quite freely, quite happily to these social media conglomerates. And we're unaware of what that information will be used for in the future. In many ways, the future remains uncertain. But in essence, this is what Dana Boyd is really concerned about. And this you may remember from part 1.
Dag Fien. Dus kun je doen. Voilà. Ik zie een school tegen Antwerpen.
Ja,
Insecten.
dat blieft?
Ik voel 2 insecten op je rug. Kan dat?
Ja, vlinders.
Slovenie?
Zo,
Een moto. Oranje.
Pas erop.
Zenit.
Oui, oui, bien.
Je hebt een vriendin. Julie de...
Ja.
Een boeiend liefdes...
Oh my god. Oh nee. Ah, dat is, ik weet niet hoe eng.